Welcome back to Hot Movies. Today I will recap your romantic drama movie The Next 365 Days. This is a part 3 of 365 Days. The film begins when Laura interrupts Massimo during a meeting. He follows Laura into the next room and begins having sex with her because he notices she is no longer engaged in the meeting. Massimo came to pay his tribute at the tomb of his brother Andriano after an untimely death caused by a plot. Massimo arranged with Nacho that they would leave the area within an hour. He threatened Nacho and his father with death if they returned to Sicily. This was Massimo's final act of generosity. He then receives a phone call and hurries home. Laura, who had almost escaped death, reappears. Laura hasn't fully recovered from her gunshot wound, so Massimo calls a halt to the sex session for her sake. Laura hurried downstairs to meet her best friend, Olga, just as she was able to get out of bed and walk. She instantly grabbed a bottle of wine and drank with her, ignorant of her gunshot wound. Olga brought Laura shopping once they caught up, and Laura celebrated her rebirth after long health issues. Laura had, after all, been kept up at home for quite some time. Laura and Nacho were having a great time when Laura got a phone call from Nacho. He questions how she is and claims he can't get her out of his head. So, Laura demands him to prove it to her. She's married to Massimo, yet Nacho has always been there for her in her lowest times. Laura and Nacho's relationship has gone beyond the boundaries of good friends. There was no physical intimacy, but Laura was clearly in love with Nacho. But she's restraining back, claiming she needs time to get away from Nacho. Laura and Olga then went to a nightclub, where Olga's fiancé Domenico came shortly after. Laura was about to go for a walk when she noticed Nacho. Massimo, her husband, came in front of her as she was going to focus on Nacho. Laura believed she was imagining. Massimo then led Laura to a quiet meeting room where they had sex. Laura had returned home, and when she arose after her sleep, Massimo, on the other hand, was nowhere to be seen and was drinking wine quietly in the living room. He is wary of Laura and believes he is being tricked. He inquired as to what had taken place during Laura's elope with Nacho. He blames her of hiding information about the pregnancy from him. Laura makes it clear she had nothing to do with Nacho, and that she concealed the pregnancy in order to protect the family. All of this occurred as a result of Massimo making enemies, and she does not want Massimo to start a conflict with them. Massimo was inebriated and didn't trust Laura's justifications, so he smashed the glass in rage. Laura notices this and recalls her pleasant days with Nacho. Massimo expresses his emotions and leaves her alone to cry. Massimo carries Laura to bed late at night after she has fallen asleep and has been awake all night. She fantasized about becoming intimate with Nacho rather than having sex with her husband. When she awoke, she saw Massimo. Massimo realized his wife was keeping something from him because of the small changes in her perceptions. Their relationship has suffered a split, and they are no longer as close as they once were. Laura's marriage is in disarray, so she focuses on her business. She went on to work for her own fashion business. Her hectic activity kept her mind occupied. Massimo, on the contrary, was always preoccupied with his company, such as business meetings with his associates. Massimo has always adhered to a rigid code of behavior in which he does not engage in romantic relationships with other women. Laura and Massimo are now focused on their own works. Both of those who knew one another the best appeared to be strangers. Laura got an invitation to Lagos Fashion Week in Portugal one day and was overjoyed to attend with Olga. Massimo sends his most formidable bodyguard to protect Laura. They landed in Portugal and enjoyed their time on the beach, watching surfing events and gazing at attractive guys. Laura was shocked to see Nacho, whom she hadn't seen in a long time until she heard on the radio that Nacho had won the surfing championship. Laura isn't ready to be seen, so she pulls Olga and flees with her. They couldn't miss their time off because they were on official business. Laura and Olga partied their way through the alleys, bars, and nightclubs. Laura had another dream about Nacho getting intimate. She felt like he was right next to her, and when she woke up it turned out to be a dream. Laura appeared perplexed after her hangover. Laura talks ideas with the designers while the fashion show begins on time. Olga was drinking alone, and it was not long before she became inebriated and had to be carried away by the bodyguard. But Olga was not about to give in. Laura meets Nacho's sister Elena while attending the fashion show. They started talking, and Nacho appeared. Elena claims that, despite the fact that Nacho deceived Laura and caused her great pain, But Nacho isn't a bad person since it's all in the family, and he doesn't have a choice. Nacho has learned a harsh lesson since the last incident, and she asks Laura to give him a second chance to talk to him. Nacho has been looking for Laura for a long time, and has been secretly seeing her. Nacho was able to get Laura up to Olga took away the bodyguard. After a long time apart, they eventually meet again at this point. Laura accuses him of hurting her, faking her, and taking advantage of her. Nacho's involvement has caused havoc in her life. But when Nacho appeared in front of her, she couldn't keep her feelings for him from coming out and kissed him. Nacho walked her to his place without saying anything. Nacho committed to make up for all of his errors. She came to Nacho's extravagant beach to catch up. Nacho advised her not to repress her emotions, but Lauren needed time to think over it. She then started to get away, but Nacho caught her in his arms. They couldn't keep their emotions in control any longer and had a passionate, intimate encounter that boosted their bond with each other. Nacho drove Laura back to the hotel the following day, telling her he provided her time to think over it and that he would wait as long as she needed. He would not push Laura to do anything, he simply desired that she choose to be with him. Laura returned to the hotel before saying a hasty goodbye to him and ran into Massimo, who was there waiting for her. Massimo inquires as to where Laura was last night and who she was with, to which Laura responds that she simply went for a walk. Massimo, on the other hand, does not believe her and says her a liar. Laura didn't respond to Massimo's questions and instead headed upstairs. Massimo soon followed her, and Laura went to him with questions and said that she had attempted to restore the relationship, though she had failed. When she was repeatedly hurt, all she got for it was Massimo's skepticism and mistrust. The idea of divorce had already occurred to her, and she was unsure how far the two could go along. She began getting away from Massimo and requested him to return to Sicily and leave her free here with no spying on her. She needed time alone and to listen to her heart. Laura's thoughts had achieved a balance she needed to delve into her future. Massimo cooled down and returned to Sicily. Laura was alone in the lonely room. She sobbed when she read the note written by Massimo. Laura had always assumed that Massimo was just concerned with his family and his career and that he was unconcerned with her emotions. Massimo's understanding and affection were all she needed, yet they had become a luxury. What would you do if you fell in love with two men at the same time? Love is not an asset, and it cannot be purchased, sold, exchanged, or stolen. Laura visits her parents and talks to them about her ordeal. She is in love with Nacho, however, is at an impasse for what to do. Massimo's love for her is controlling and assertive, however Nacho's love for her is compassionate and considerate. Laura's mother believes that a woman should prioritize her own happiness. A woman cherishes the happiness she has fought so hard to achieve, and a woman who lives solely for a man will never be pleased. Laura appeared to have an answer after hearing her mother's words. Laura rode out on her father's motorcycle with him. Laura's father drove her around familiar streets, reminiscing about her younger days. When she is in the presence of her father, she is free to be herself. Laura received a phone call from her friend Olga when dining with her father. Olga stated that Massimo knew all about Laura and Nacho, and Massimo gets very angry at home when he discovers his wife has cheated on him. He would never tolerate his wife's infidelity. Olga is afraid and has no idea what to do. Laura, on the other hand, remains calm and chooses to return to Sicily to tell Massimo everything. Holding it a secret is not an option. There must be a way out. Laura stepped off the flight and into a taxi, while the driver was Nacho. He was willing to risk his life to go closer to Massimo's territory and capture Laura's heart one more time. He admired Laura's personality and stubbornness, and he was content to observe Laura calmly. Nacho adored Laura and desired to possess everything about her. He can't live without Laura because he wants to take her to every corner of the globe. Laura stated that she needed time to speak with Massimo. Nacho was willing to wait as long as she needed to make her decision. Laura arrived home in a flash, and Olga hurried up to hug her. Olga was reminded of what Massimo did for a living the moment she spotted Nacho. Nacho merely wished Laura a happy birthday before departing. Laura's birthday is today, but it could be a difficult day for her. Laura could have just left with Nacho, but he didn't want to push her. Laura also wanted to say something to Massimo. Laura went to the shore with much apprehension to find Massimo. He was very calm, which surprised Laura and Olga. Massimo insisted on speaking first, and that if he didn't speak now, he might not receive another chance. Massimo finally recognized what he wanted, while Lara was not with him. Everything seemed to have altered after they had lost their child. He accused himself of leaving Lara alone, and he was aware of Laura and Nacho's relationship. But he didn't want to be a bad husband, so he let Lara make the decision. Massimo recounted to her a fable that his father had told him. If you truly love something, simply let it go, knowing that if it returns, it will be yours forever, and that if it does not, it was never meant to be. Massimo approached her and asked, "Are you back, baby girl?" She gave Massimo a thoughtful glance. "I can tell he's just interested in you. How could you leave him?" And the movie ends here. If you love the video, then please leave a like and comment which movie should I recap next.